thank everybody for being here today. It's actually a good day. The Galveston Police Department, the gentleman behind me, with the help of a number of agencies, was able to put an end to the end of a group called the Omega Crips. This summer, the city of Galveston has seen an alarming increase in property crimes, crimes against persons, specifically robberies, burglaries, stolen vehicles, carjackings. Many of these crimes involved similarly described suspects in the MOs or modus operandi. In response to that, the Galveston Police Department saw fit to create a task force to deal specifically and target these crimes. This task force was made up of all patrol officers. They were actually reassigned from patrol because of their knowledge and working ability in the neighborhoods of which they policed. You know, we're stretched thin. Our officers really do have a good knowledge of their neighborhoods. As a result of this investigative effort, the Galveston police were able to identify and systematically dismantle an organized criminal street gang, closely affiliated with the nationally recognized street gang of the Crips. The investigation resulted in identifying the leadership hierarchy of this organized criminal street gang and was able to link the majority of them to the above-mentioned crimes. The Crips street gang is one of the third largest, most widely recognized and dangerous organized criminal street gangs in the United States. Officers assigned to the task force immediately began collecting intelligence regarding known members and associates of the organized Omega criminal street gang. Within 1 week, the task force identified and arrested 12 confirmed members or associates of the criminal enterprise and were able to secure criminal charges ranging from engaging in organized criminal activity, aggravated robbery, burglary of a motor vehicle, narcotics possession, cleared up numerous outstanding warrants and some probation violations. It was quickly recognized by the task force the majority of the Omega organized criminal street gang members were juveniles. This is one of the most key things that you need to know, and that our public was outraged. They were mostly juveniles. These preliminary arrests led to the recovery of a large amount of stolen property, much of which has been returned to its rightful owners. The evidence recovered during these arrests and statements obtained from the arrestees allowed the task force to assist the Galveston Police Criminal Investigation Divisions in clearing several previously unsolved burglaries and stolen vehicles. To date, the task force has arrested 15 juveniles, all of which are members or associates of the Omegas. The majority of these juvenile offenders have been charged with engaging in organized criminal activity, and it includes the Omega street gang leadership. The hierarchy was disassembled, dismantled. The investigation is still ongoing and likely to yield further felony charges. Due to the fact that these arrestees are juveniles, state law prohibits the release of their photographs and their names. But one of the key factors is they operated in Galveston and they had no jurisdictional boundaries. Throughout the county, these juveniles operated. While still investigating the Omega Street Criminal Activity Gang, there's still an active leadership and members that have to be arrested and charged. Currently, the task force investigation of the organized gang were able to arrest over 30 individuals that were ultimately not confirmed but associates and were suspected of being involved in multiple crimes to the gang's operation. The task force noted a rise in methamphetamine and made 4 cases involving methamphetamine, particularly narcotics, and both possessing and manufacturing and delivery of methamphetamine. The task force was also able to make numerous other narcotics-related arrests for possession of cocaine, both powder and crack, illegal prescription pills, and marijuana. The task force was ultimately able to recover numerous firearms from these offenders that were linked to burglaries in League City and multiple robberies within the city of Galveston. The Galveston Task Force was able to identify and apprehend the suspect with an aggravated assault warrant in Texas City. This could not have been accomplished without the assistance of the United States Marshals, the Texas City Police Department, and the Galveston Police Department SWAT team. The task force continued the investigation into the numerous robberies of convenience stores by suspects armed with handguns. This resulted in the identifying a suspect in the latest robbery, which was the Lucky Way food store on Coveview Boulevard. The investigation continued into this particular robbery and led to the arrest of the gunman, led to the arrest of the gunman in the robbery late Friday night, September 5th. With the assistance of the SWAT team, the suspect arrest was quickly recognized as an Omega organized criminal street gang member, as were the juvenile offenders. The preliminary arrest led to the recovery. I'm sorry, I read off the wrong paper. How about that? Here we go. The end. The individuals yielded evidence of aggravated robberies to the city of Galveston, identification of the charges of the suspect involved. The task force was able to recover numerous narcotics, seized five firearms from felony subjects, and seized over $17,000 in cash. Quick fact in there, we made over 70 arrests in less than a month. Over 30 of those arrests were felony arrests. And I need to recognize these people because we couldn't have done this ourselves. We're strapped too thin. I'd like to recognize the entities that helped us, which have made this possible. The Galveston County District Attorney's Office, the Lamarck Police Department, Texas City Police Department, Hitchcock Police Department, Galveston Independent School District Police Department, the Galveston County Juvenile Probation Division, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston. We're going to show you a diagram so you have it of the Omega Crips core leadership. And if you'll notice, we hope we can show it to you. And the key thing here is these individuals that, it's important that you know, we can't show you their names, but we can show you that they were juveniles. They were arrested for major offenses within the county. They operated within the county of Galveston. The mobility of these people, these bad people, is something we need to be concerned with. The key, one of the key factors that we had today in this task force was that our officers came from the street. They were able to identify through neighborhoods, the people in the neighborhoods helping us with information, accurate, timely information, so that the task force was also able to work with our criminal investigation division that had ongoing and open cases. We were able to connect those things, and that led us to other cities and other crimes within the county. So it's frightening. These people had no fear. These juveniles had no fear. They didn't care. They had no jurisdictional boundaries. The causeway didn't matter anymore. They were in other communities. So we were able to, these officers did a great job. I'm just telling you it was a good job. You want to slap the next one. These are known associates, and these are adults that will have been arrested. We'll give you a handout with those people on there. I mean, we had these arrests were somewhat peripheral based on our investigations from while we're working on the Omega gangs. We had over, I think it's 30 arrests that were peripheral, but they all at some point touched or butted next to the street gang at some point. Next slide, please. For y'all, plaster his face everywhere. We want him under arrest. We are looking for the last robber of Lucky Way. He is the last guy that's out there. We believe that our public will help us. We need him to go to jail. We'll call our dispatch at 765-3702. If you're in Galveston, Texas, 911 will get us there. We need to make sure somebody knows him. We know somebody knows him. It's the last person on the gang. And I can't tell you enough. These guys never stopped. They run day and night, 7 days a week, and they didn't take days off. And that's important to us, continuing to run the leads and not stop, and able to bring. We brought a dangerous group of people to justice, and we got to hope that the system now works through that. But I'm telling you, this is a big deal. It's a big deal for our community, our officers. This goes back to our protect with respect mantra, and The interaction with the community and interaction with the neighborhoods helped us clean up the neighborhoods. We had one reformed convict tell the sergeant in the street, "These people scare me. I'm scared of these kids. Y'all need to do something." And if you don't think that resonates, that resonates. Because of course what the sergeant did, he ran back and checked the guy's name and said, "Man, this is a real convict." So these things are scary, and these are the things, and this is the last guy in the group we're looking for. So I would appreciate anybody in the viewing area of anybody that would please call us so we could put this gentleman in jail where he belongs. Quick note, from July to like August, we had over 25 robberies. That's what precipitated the formation of the task force. Since they started to now, we've only had, we believe, 2 or 3 robberies since everybody's been taken into custody. And if you look at our crime stats, there's somebody here that can comment on those in the back row. That's a really good downturn, and we believe it's directly related to these officers finding work in detective.
Can you repeat those 2 things at the mic, please?
Yes,
That'll
sir.
sound a little clearer.
What do you want me to say?
Oh, just what you just mentioned about what started it, the 25.
Oh, okay. The incidents that precipitated us forming the task force was we'd had about 25 robberies in the last 2 months. And once we started the task force, our robberies from, I think, August 9th or somewhere in there afterwards, they really slowed. We only had 2 to date so far, 2 or 3. It was really small. But prior to that, we had 25. And the violence of action and the threats perceived by both the victims and the detectives and the officers investigating these crimes was something we had grave concern with.
How young was the youngest?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
How young was the youngest one arrested?
The youngest one was 11.
11.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the age range? Like, do you have, how many?
11 to 16. And then we have some that are adults, 17, but everybody in that first hierarchy was a juvenile. And it's important to know, that's a good question. Within the gang there was 2 teams or 2 units, and they were operating independently but together. And our officers, through our intelligence analysts and through some of our investigative strategies, were able to form those 2 teams. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Were firearms recovered from some of these that were 11 to 16 years old?
Yes, correct. Yes, yes. That's what precipitated the task force, because we believed that somebody would get hurt. I mean, it was that there was a definite display of violence and no fear of retaliation and no fear of being caught, and that was a key factor in us doing what we did.
Did you get a chance to talk to any of these kids' parents? I mean, were they just, what did they know? Did they, what kind of reaction do they have to this?
I got to be real careful what I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, some of these Omegas, their parents are convicts. So I would tell you, the best thing a parent can do is love their child and raise them. Because when they don't raise their children, they end up dealing with us, and this is what we're dealing with. Some people have failed to take responsibility for their children, and they're out there in the community wreaking havoc on people. And it's really it's sad. This is a sad situation. We have some of the best officers. I'm telling you, you would not believe the lengths they went through to get in there. These are kids, but they're acting as convicts and doing criminal acts that are unspeakable, and for them to infiltrate under the adult level, we couldn't have done it without our public. But it's scary. It is a scary thing.
While you're there by the microphone, would you talk again about what this reformed convict had to say about these kids, about how scared he was of these kids?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The chief a minute ago, he was over here talking about a reformed convict even said, these kids are scaring me. I just wanted him to kind of reiterate that again while he was standing by the mic there.
Okay, so your question was just for the chief.
Yeah, it just to kind of say what he did before, you know, about what the
Right.
reformed convict said.
One of the chief, the sergeant over the detail contacted me, and I said, "How are we doing?" And he said, "Chief, I'm telling you, we're on the right track." He said, "A convict came up to me at a certain location, and he said, these kids are scaring me." He said, "Y'all really need to do something." And we were able to get a couple of leads and some pointers from somebody in the community that knew we were trying to do the right thing and we're out there working to make it safe.
What does that say to you when a convict is afraid of kids?
That says to me that we had to do what we had to do to put these people in jail. This is a lot of children to be arrested. 11 years old, 12 years old with a gun. I don't even think they can fathom what the repercussions are pulling the trigger. I think they could pull the trigger. I think they could, because they would. We have an active case where they evaded police in a vehicle. I mean, my point is they have no fear, and it's scary to us as law enforcement officials. You got somebody out there that's got a gun, can ruin everybody's life, and we're doing our best to keep that from happening. I mean, the robberies were through the roof, man, and it's a scary situation.
The second, the group of pictures that you showed of adults the second time, can you explain again what the correlation is between not those folks but the other folks?
During their investigations and trying to piece everything together, looking for that criminal element, we were able to get into another criminal element that had peripheral contact with the other people. So as we were looking for the Omega gang, these other criminal activities overlapped into what we were doing. So those spun off other deals, and that caused us to arrest other people going after the core group. Does that make sense?
Yes,
but
yes.
The bottom line is it's all interlaced. But
right.
The other thing is, the key factor, man, this is scary. There was no jurisdictional lines for these juveniles. They went outside of their city. They went all over the county. They weren't afraid to run from the police in cars. They weren't afraid to carry guns. They weren't afraid to steal. They weren't afraid to rob. It's a pretty big statement.
Did they injure anybody, Chief, in any of their...
We have a couple. Yes, I think, I don't want to give you the wrong answer.
What, like pistol whippings or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably be in a better position maybe to answer that question, but I mean, bottom line, yes, to themselves and also other people in the public as well. You know, they had a car chase recently up in Lamar where we had several subjects flee on foot, bail out of the car. One of the subjects, which ultimately we apprehended, he bailed out of the back seat of the car, injured himself pretty good. We ended up catching him a short time later. Another subject there fought with an officer on scene, one of the Lamarck officers. And keep in mind, this is a juvenile, 16, but a big kid, 5'8", probably about 260 pounds. Fought with a police officer on the scene there. It was a younger officer, you know, not a very big guy. And, you know, actually, you know, actively resisted him and fought with him. So.
Did they injure any of their robbery victims, like a pistol whipping or any of that kind of thing?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
No. Now, you know, there was allegation before that. Now, the thing that they do is they'll use pepper spray. That's one of their MOs. So while maybe they won't physically strike them, now not that they wouldn't, but they're using pepper spray a lot of the times to try to disable their victims, spray it in their eyes, and then at that point, you know, they do.
Abducted them.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, we do have an abduction from them.
Really?
Yes, sir. Also, one other thing that we need to look at here, our felony arrest with the Crips. Mr. Garcia is a documented member of the Zetas. And if y'all don't know who the Zetas are, y'all need to look that up. Those are very, very dangerous people. And my point is, there's an array of people that are commingled with these juveniles. And I mean, the law prohibits us from doing that, but we did have a hierarchy and structure. And that juvenile criminal gang helped us do 35 other arrests, over 30 arrests. But I mean, there are some serious crooks here, and that's the reason we're here. And I really want to congratulate and thank our officers. I mean, they did not take days off. They worked almost day and night, and that work helped us get, we have over, what, 30-something arrests in less than 30 days?
Felony.
Yeah, felony arrests. We have 70 arrests, over 30 of them are felonies in less than a month. I mean, those are big numbers.
Is that unprecedented, do you believe?
I'm saying it's probably the most positive results we had from a 6-man task force, and every agency around us that helped us I'm saying we had this is a successful task force for the 5 weeks we created it. It was absolutely successful.
Where were
I think
these
it's the
kids?
biggest thing in recent memory that you can
Yes.
recall, right?
Well, I've been here 25 years, I think so.
Yeah.
Where were these kids from?
Galveston, Texas, sir.
All from Galveston?
They're all
County?
from Galveston. Yes.
Wow.
How were they recruited? I mean, some of these kids, like the 11-year-old.
Go back to that microphone.
They recruit through probably social media maybe, and also their neighborhoods. They all know each other. They're from, I venture to say most of them are from the neighborhood.
They go to school together, some of them?
Yeah, they all live pretty close together.
So are you saying there are like 2 squads operating, each squad had a leader?
Each squad had a leader, but they were both, there was like 2 captains and 2 units, but it was 2 units, but it's the same gang.
So they coordinated their
Yes.
hits, so to speak.
Yes, and well, actually, they almost run them a little differently, but they work together, if that makes sense. We're going to
Yeah.
give you a handout with the hierarchy on it so you can see it.
Chief, are they from a particular Galveston neighborhood or all over?
It's probably best I say they were from Galveston, Texas.
Understood. Where are they now? Are they scattered in juvenile
Some are
custody
in
or are they
jail,
released?
some are in juvenile detention, and some have been released.
Right.
Are they still in, were they going to school? Were they in school at all? Some of them?
Some, it's mixed, it was really mixed.
They all boys?
No.
See a girl up there on the top left.
Yes.
Two female juveniles, I believe.
Yeah, we've arrested.
Yeah, there's 2 right there.
2.
How old are the female juveniles, do you know?
It's 15 and 16.
Do you know the relationship between the Omega Crips and then the national gang?
Basically, the way it works out is you have Crips as, as a nationwide gang. Well, they were, a set of the Crips. So they would claim it, so to speak. They would claim Crip and then operate, under that name. But under that, they go by Omega, which, and they've since, they're trying to downplay that to where they don't use that name as much anymore, but it's still the same group.
How many were released?
Yeah, it's Clint Stevens. That's Stevens with a V, S-T-E-V-E-N-S.
Investigator officer.
Clint officer.
Is there any interaction between the Crips here and the national Crips, or?
Well, I will say this, just based off of my investigation in here, I found them as far as California to be in contact with other members who actually claim membership. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. I can't say 100%, but I do know that they've been in contact as far as California.
How many were released? You said some of them have already been released?
I don't know, I don't think I can
Juveniles,
give you an exact number.
I'm sorry, did you say some of the juveniles have been released?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And some of the investigation is still ongoing. We are trying to certify some juveniles as either gang members or adults. I mean, there's a ongoing process, but we're at the point we've slowed enough that we're going to probably put everybody's going back to work on patrol, and this is the results of that task force.
How do you keep it from just sort of, reforming and happening all over again?
We're going to do the best we can. Hopefully this will dismantle some of that and disrupt it, but our good road patrol, field patrol is the best thing we can do. And I mean, this is the proof in the pudding. Every one of these officers came from the field. They were put in investigative roles, and they were able to cut and run. And that's the value of neighborhood policing. I mean, it is the value of it. I mean, we were able to get quality, timely, accurate information from people who don't want to be terrorized in their community.
Chief, this spiked in the summer, obviously, but and these guys are so young. How long the Omega Crips been at this in Galveston?
I really hate to, well, the Omegas, I would hate to say, but I don't think the Omegas have been around more than a couple months.
Oh, really?
Well,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Just based off of our investigation, we found that they've been active for at least about the 12 months, about 12 months. So they kind of formed loosely, and then it just escalated. They started off with smaller petty crimes. Eventually, you know, they kept getting away with that. And unfortunately, they take advantage of the, I wouldn't say maybe necessarily the limitation of the juvenile justice system, but the juvenile justice system is designed to rehabilitate. It's not designed to incarcerate. So they know that, and they take advantage of that so that they can continue to commit crimes.
Did most of these kids have like a prior juvenile criminal history?
We can't talk about their prior records.
Chief,
So-
going back in
their
the,
names.
Chief, going back in the days,
Some of
when,
them were known to law enforcement.
going back in the days when you had Gilbert Gomez working gangs, was there anything like this happen back then?
I can't comment on anything other than what we're doing on this brick, and I'm gonna tell you this is a large uptick. It was the age of these people, the severity and the propensity for them to hurt somebody was significant enough for myself and the senior command staff to make an administrative decision that we needed to do something now. If that makes sense. That's as plain as I can make it.
Are the 2 juvenile leaders among those you're trying to recertify?
I believe so. We did get engaging in organized criminal activity on them and aggravated assault on the other one, aggravated robbery rather. And like the officer said, that the criminal justice system is sometimes it is what it is, and we have to work through that, and that's where we're at.
These robberies were individual robberies where they would just approach someone. Kind of describe what a typical robbery would be like for these.
Actually, from what we found, it was both. We had a lot of instances where, yeah, that was the case, where they would, and one of the things they try to do is take advantage of people that they think aren't going to call the police. So they might find just an intoxicated subject that's maybe not necessarily going to be able to recall all the details, or that may not be necessarily as credible due to his mental state. So that's something they would try to take advantage of, but eventually they got to where that wasn't enough. They were not making enough money that way, so they actually did. We had some instances where they're actually going in convenience stores, you know, and committing robberies there as well.
Do you have a total number of crimes or no?
No, not an accurate one. No. We haven't. I mean, I could give you a general ballpark for the robberies that we've had. You know, we've had about 25 robberies over here in the past few months, and I can say that the majority of those are going to be related.
So they were mostly people crimes. They weren't like burglars, and they didn't. Did you clear any burglaries?
Yes.
Really?
Couple. And the firearms is significant. I mean, firearms is significant with the money. Anything else? We got a handout for you. Hopefully we'll give you that information. We're going to give you copies of the photos. I appreciate y'all coming down. Hopefully y'all won't get caught at 5 o'clock.
Guys, I'll have handouts right here next to the door. Feel free to take one on your way out. If you do have some more questions or need some clarification on anything, I'll be out.